Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, and this is part 2 of my top 10 conspiracy thrillers. So, in at number 3 is Francis Ford Coppola's classic 1974 film The Conversation, starring the incendiary Gene Hackman. So, just say Gene Hackman never got an Oscar nomination for this performance, and that year of 1974 you also have Nicholson in Chinatown and Pacino in The Godfather 2. The winner was Art Carney, he of the Honeymooners fame, for Harry and Tonto. Answers on a postcard, please. Also there, Chinatown, what a great conspiracy thriller, but it's a neo-noir that, and that's why it's not in this list, but one of the great films. So yeah, this is fantastic film. The David Shire, again, is doing a musical score. It's like a kind of chaotic jazz score, works really well. Hackman basically plays a surveillance expert in sound called Harry Corden. At the start, he and his team are recording a conversation of a couple in a kind of square in San Francisco with long distance boom mics, and it hinges on some dialogue that he hears. He'd kill us if he got the chance, basically. So later on in the film, we realise that a job has gone wrong in the past and someone's died because of the intel he's given, and he starts to get really paranoid. He's a practicing Catholic, or maybe he's lapsed, I'm not sure, and he starts to, his guilt rises to the surface, and he's quite lonely and depressed, I think, and he's anxious, and in that way it's a very modern, these themes of mental illness. I think it kind of touches on that. He just gets more and more paranoid, and then he thinks he's being under surveillance. Harrison Ford stars in it in a key scene. He's pretty chilling. Robert Duvall, Frederick Forrest, Sidney Williams. It's a top sort of 1970s actors. And Coppola was just on an incredible run, in this same year he wrote and directed The Godfather Part 2, and after this he went to make a film called Apocalypse Now, so just kind of stunning, really. The use of sound's great, and obviously he's riffing on Antonioni's Blow Up. And when Brian De Palma did Blowout, again he was riffing on Blow Up, but he's kind of influenced by The Conversation as well, I guess, a movie brat being influenced by another one. Just such great films, these, just quickly, like Gene Hackman in this, he wears these thick-rimmed glasses, and he was cast in the film Enemy of the State in '98, which is a conspiracy thriller with Will Smith. But that's a big-scale action flick with directed by Tony Scott, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, and the inference in that was like Gene Hackman had the same kind of warehouse-style setup in that, and it was almost like they'd taken the Harry Core character with a different name and plonked him in, many years down the line into another film. It's a good film, Enemy of the State. It's got the Hitchcock wrong man plot. Will Smith's accused of something he hasn't done and has to go on the run. But it's just nowhere within the level of these films, from the 70s. So that's my number 3 choice. At number 2 is, there's a few kind of plot holes with this, but it's just such a good kind of Hollywood blockbuster entertainment of his day. That I had to have it in. So it's 1976 is The Marathon Man, directed by John Schlesinger. So Michael Small's back for the music on this. He did the Parallax View, and again he's doing his unsettling atonal thing. So what's the plot with this? Dustin Hoffman is a university student. He's far too old for it, but his dad was a famous sort of lecturer intellectual. I think he's basically killed himself because of the McCarthy witch hunts. So he's got a bit of a legacy there. His brother works in the oil industry, his elder brother played by Roy Scheider, or so he thinks. And he likes marathon running, or running as it were. So basically Roy Scheider doesn't work for the oil industry. He's in a black ops kind of operation called the Organisation. So these people deal with stuff that even the CIA won't touch. And he and his partner William Devane, who's called Janeway, or Janeway, they basically liaise with a Nazi played by former Nazi, a Nazi, a former Nazi here, who hides out in South America, and basically they know where he is, but he gives them intel on other Nazis who are hiding out so they can catch him. And in return for this, they transport his diamonds, or I think they convert his diamond stash, which is in New York, into cash, and then they pay him, which his brother collects. So there's like a diamond as a kind of operation, and that kind of funds his life in South America. So what happens is his brother is killed in a car accident at the start, and then Olivier's character becomes paranoid that the organisation are going to try and, get his diamonds and get his money. So he starts bumping them off, and Scheider's character gets stabbed in a stunning scene. This is beautifully shot, this scene, by Olivier when he arrives in New York, and he manages to get back to Dustin Hoffman's apartment, but doesn't tell him anything. But what happens is Olivier's character believes that Dustin Hoffman might know something, so he has him captured, and so begins one of the most stunning scenes in Hollywood history, the "Is it safe" scene, which is basically Olivier's character has been a dentist in the death camps, and he's removed the gold fillings from Jewish people's teeth before they're murdered. So he gets his dentist equipment out and tortures Dustin Hoffman, and he just chillingly just says over and over, "Is it safe?" No one likes going to the dentist, but if you watch this, you won't want to go again. So what's great in this is the famous acting battle. It's basically the traditional theatre style versus the method acting. Olivier was quite disparaging about Hoffman because he stayed up straight for 2 nights, so he looked knackered, and he famously says, "Why don't you try acting, dear boy?" But my take on this is that, creative people need to do whatever they need to do to get where they need to go. And Dustin Hoffman, with his process, basically needs to experience a lack of sleep to play the scene. And Olivier, did his way of, probably reading the text, the dialogue, and then using costume and so on to create his character. So he's got this shocking sort of white hair, but he's shaved at the top of his head, because he's called the White Angel, the Vasangel. That was his name in the death camps. So this scene's amazing, and it's nightmarish. Hoffman, this is where the film is really good. Hoffman escapes and he runs off, but it becomes the stuff of nightmare because he gets recaptured. No, apologies, he gets rescued by William Devane's character, but then he just gets taken back in. William Devane's in cahoots with Laurence Olivier. And he's, it's the stuff of nightmares, it really is. I should just say quickly that William Devane character and Roy Scheider, in actual fact, in another cut of the film, they're actually in a same-sex gay relationship. And you wouldn't know this, but if you read up about that and then watch the film, there's a bit where Roy Scheider's on the phone saying, "Oh, Janie, you should come to the hotel, I need you." Something like that. And obviously Janie's his nickname for the William Devane character. So again, that's alluding to the fact that they are in a relationship, but if you didn't read up about it, you wouldn't know that from the from watching the film. So the other superb scene is Olivier. Obviously, he's arrived. Christian Zell, he's called, has arrived in New York, and he wants to get his diamonds. He collects them from a safety deposit box. He has the other key, the other one that his brother had, and he goes to the diamond district to get them valued. In the diamond district, it's the Jewish diamond district, so all the proprietors are Jewish people. So he goes into a place, and one of the assistants says, "Oh, I recognise you," and this guy's got a tattoo on his death camp number on his wrist, and Olivier leaves fairly rapidly. I should just say, when he collects his diamonds, amazing scene where he lights up because he's so happy he sees his diamonds, the greed. Horrific character. Then he is walking down the street, and a woman, another death camp survivor, Holocaust survivor, recognises him, and she shouts, "Wasangel, you need to stop him," and it's absolutely incredible. And I think what's important about this scene is after the war, a lot of people kind of forgot about the Holocaust, and Hollywood didn't really touch on it, apart from in a film like Pawnbroker, Sidney Lumet's 1965 film with Rod Steiger. He got an Oscar nomination for that, but it wasn't a big hit. And I think this is one of the first films to touch on that. It's kind of that legacy of the war. And obviously in 1976 as well, you had the miniseries Holocaust with Meryl Streep and James Woods. And then that's another example in TV where people start to feature filmmakers, and TV start to feature the horror of it. And obviously now, we have much more media material covering it, and that should continue indefinitely, as it were. So superb, that bit. It's a great film. There's a bit where they go out into the kind of sticks outside New York. It's quite desolate, unusual wooden houses, and these same types of houses are kind of almost used in the film called The Boys from Brazil, which also stars Laurence Olivier, but this time he's a Nazi hunter, kind of like a Simon Wiesenthal type character. That's another sort of conspiracy thriller, but it's ridiculous, but it's good fun. Another one which explores Nazis in hiding, sort of, is the Odessa File with John Voight from '74. The Marathon Man is the one that has the Holocaust legacy aspect to it. This is a great Hollywood night out. You can imagine going to the pictures back in the day, and it would be a really great film to see. So let's just go back through my top 10. We had The Game at number 10, Blow Up at number 9, Arlington Road at 8, 7 was 3 Days of the Condor, 6 was Blowout, 5 was All the President's Men, 4 was The Parallax View, 3 was The Conversation. Just quickly mention that Gene Hackman was in a film called Night Moves in 1975, and he plays a private eye in that. He also has a moustache, but that makes quite a nice sort of double bill of the Conversation. It's directed by Arthur Penn, and it's again, it's sort of got a conspiracy element as well, but it flopped at the time. It's a bit of a cult film. Just get that in there. And then we've got The Marathon Man at number 2. And I've just remembered one other thing I forgot to mention is Dario Argento's Deep Red as well, when I was talking about Blow Up. David Hemming stars in Dario Argento's Deep Red, Profondo Rosso. And again, that's using a slight sort of conspiracy thriller element from Antonio's Blow Up, in that Hemming's character sees something, but he's not realised what he's seen until later on. It's well worth seeing, so just a little thing there regarding that. Okay, so my number one choice is, it could only be the granddaddy of all these films. It's 1962's The Manchurian Candidate. So this is directed by John Frankenheimer and stars Lawrence Harvey as Raymond Shaw, a Korean War veteran. So what happens is Frank Sinatra's character comes back from Korea. He thinks Raymond Shaw is the kindest, most decent human being he's ever met, but he can't work out why he thinks that, because in the back of his mind he's sure that he does not like Raymond Shaw. What's happened is they've been captured and brainwashed by the communists, and Raymond Shaw has been brainwashed to perform an assassination, and he has an American handler, and he is triggered by a deck of cards and a certain suite. And it's great when you find out who his handler is later on, and it's his own mother, played by Angela Lansbury. Superb. So this film was actually withdrawn from distribution after the JFK assassination because I think it was, along with the film Suddenly, which are both Frank Sinatra films, because Sinatra was a good mate of JFK's. It's superbly shot by Frankenheimer. He uses a lot of deep focus cinematography. It's black and white. There's a great bit where Lawrence Harvey's character kills his girlfriend's father, and the father's holding a quart of milk, like a sort of cardboard milk carton, and he's Lawrence Harvey's got a gun with a silencer, and he's just shot with a big wide angle lens, so the silencer's really big in the frame, and then the father, the victim, is shot from a low angle, and then they when he shoots him, the milk actually pops and the milk comes out instead of blood, as it were. It's really superb. The climax is great. It's good music, credit sequence. The brainwashing sequences are superb, so they're shot from two perspectives. So the soldiers think they're at some indoor sort of greenhouse garden thing, and some ladies are kind of instructing them on flower arranging. It's really weird. And then we see it from the actual brainwashing perspective, where you have the military personnel and the guy doing the brainwashing, and they actually get soldiers to walk over and shoot another one in the head. So this is, it's superb. I remember the first time I saw this, I think it was back in '89. It was on TV, and I just went over into a room in my parents' house and just watched it on a little black and white TV at Christmas, and I watched it several times since. So that's my number one. Forgive my little bits of waffle in between. I just like to get these little bits of intel in about films, because what's enjoyable for me is again sharing knowledge, but it's just like there may be films you're not checked out and that, and you know, these themes and elements I'm talking about in other films. You know, it's good to watch those films. So you get that nice little jigsaw of movies. Yep, so great. So that was my top 10 conspiracy thrillers. Hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching. Cheers.